In this video, we're going to start with 2 blank projects and create the basic foundation or framework for our game. Nothing fancy, those will be covered in other videos, but our goal is to try to get something working to kind of look like the base game that we're going for. So in Unreal Engine, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new project. It'll be a blank blueprint project. I don't need anything, I don't think. I don't really remember. I guess we'll figure that out. And we'll call this, let's see, Lunar Lander Live. And we'll go ahead and create that project. And while that's building out, I might as well start up my Unity project. We'll go ahead and we'll do a new project. We'll go ahead and call this one Lunar Lander Live. We are going to be doing 3D projects with an orthographic camera. So 2D may work better, but I'm not really experienced with the 2D tool set in both Unity and Unreal Engine. I am familiar enough with the 3D to fake it, so that's what we're going to do. We're not going to have any extra asset packages. We're actually going to go through those in a little bit and add some stuff that we might want. We're actually going to steal some things from the Learn projects in Unreal Engine and then the Learn projects from Unity, so that way we don't have to create any models and things like that. Let me go ahead and reset everything to defaults. If I can remember how to do it in Unity. I'm going to try to reset the views back to defaults, and I'm pretty sure it's in here somewhere. Oh, there we go, layouts. There we go. Revert to factory settings. So let's reset that to defaults so that way everyone can see what it is by default. And then we're going to do the same thing with Unreal Engine because I know I've changed this a little bit. So reset layout. We'll do that. And then we're going to jump in. So Lunar Lander is a simple old arcade game, probably a home game as well, where the goal is you're a lander. It's a little ship. You're on the moon. You're going to go from your starting point to your ending point, and you can only basically use your thrusters. You have an up thruster, left thruster, and a right thruster. You may have had down, I can't really remember, but we're just going to go with a bottom thruster and a left and right. And then you can go from one point to the other. Now you need to avoid things like rocks and stalactites, stalagmites. Sometimes they're under caves, sometimes it's on the top on the ground when you're learning. And then you also have to battle against your fuel supply because every time you use your thruster, your fuel's going to run out. Now you have a low gravity, so you can kind of float, but you are also drawn back to the ground. And it gives it a little bit of fun game, plus we get to play with physics. So let's get started. Let's see, the first thing we're going to want to do is make a new level, and we'll make a blank level. And we need something to look at. So we're going to need a platform to start with, platform to end with, and then our little ship dude. Now the nice thing is in your basic prototype, well, blocks. Blocks work great for that. So we're just going to jump right in, and we're going to just create our basic blocks to represent our platform and our ship. And then we'll see about making some thrusters work, and we'll go from there. Keep in mind, throughout this process, I'm probably not going to explain too much. The goal of this is just to simply show how things work in each engine. They may not be the best way. They may not be the worst way. It's simply the way I'm going to show them working in each engine. Let's make a new folder, and we'll call this one Blueprints. We're going to be using Blueprints in Unreal Engine 4 because it's just really simple to work in. And let's make a few new blueprints. We have a few options here for the player itself. Now we can go with the character, but we don't need movement. We're going to just use physics to move something around. So we're just going to go with something like an actor or a pawn. Now, pawns would work perfectly fine for us, but in this case, I think I'm just going to go with an actor because it'll make it simple. But pawns do also get the input for the control. We'll just go with a pawn. Okay, so we'll go with blueprint player. And let's do a new blueprint class actor, and we'll do blueprint platform. There's pretty much our game right there, to be honest, once we put stuff in here. So let's see. We'll go with our player. We're going to represent him by a cube. So let's find a cube. There's a cube. We'll make that our root, and we'll call this our player. And that's our player. Simple as that. Platform, same thing. We're going to go ahead and add another cube in here. And we'll make this our root. We'll call this platform. And of course, we don't want it to look like that. We're going to have to change it a little bit. So the first thing we need to do is figure out how our camera is going to be set up. And there's a couple things with Unreal Engine. In Unity, you have cameras, and the cameras are what your view is. In Unreal Engine, if we were to hit play here, you're going to find it automatically spawns in a few things. So we get a camera actor for us, we get a pawn, a game mode, some network stuff, game states. I mean, look at all these things that spawned out of our blank project, because these are included by default in our game mode, and we get them for free. Now, the controller we're going to use to give input to our player, and the camera is what we're going to want to actually see stuff out of. So we need to make sure our camera is going to be set up properly when we're playing, so that way we can actually see in our proper orthographic mode. So we need to figure out how to adjust that to the proper camera. So we're going to have two options. We can either change our camera to a default camera, or we can change the spawned default camera. I'm going to basically cheat and just make our own camera and use our own camera. So let's find a camera. Let's see, probably all classes. Camera, here we go. And we'll drag a camera into our scene. Now you'll notice that X is forward on our camera. So we're going to use X to simulate our depth. And then let's find, well, here's perspective. So let's change that to orthographic. So now we have a flat orthographic plane. We have orthographic width, which is what we're going to use to determine, the width of our screen. I'm just going to go with 1920 to make it easy, because that's, 1920 by 1080. We'll keep everything pretty much at the defaults. This is our camera actor, what it looks like and sees. We're going to pin this so that we can actually see what it sees. And we should have another option in here somewhere, right here, auto activate. We're going to activate for player 0. So that way what we see out of this camera is what player 0 sees. And if we hit play, well, doesn't help, we don't have anything in the scene, but that is our default camera actor that we're going to use for our scene. The nice thing now is we can just drop like a platform and a player in, and we have, there we go, you can see them in our view. Now we'd probably want to resize these appropriately. You'll notice we don't have a depth. Well, obviously we don't have a depth because it's an orthographic camera. So we need to determine where exactly we want our default, depth plane to be to make sure everything falls on top of each other. Now, if we set these to 0 and 0, well, we're going to run into an issue, obviously, because they're behind the camera. So what if we were to move the camera? Oh, look, they came back. So let's move our camera back to, negative 500, because why not? It's orthographic, it really doesn't matter. And we'll go over there. There's our default setup. Our player's fine. Our platform's not. We need to adjust our platform, mainly because, well, it looks like crap. But we can't really tell which is which. So we need to give these things some look. We're going to give them some materials. So we'll just create some default materials here. We'll go material. We'll call this one material. We'll try to call it material player. And then we'll make a new one called material. And we'll call this one material platform. I probably shouldn't be doing it like this, but we're thinking ahead, and then we're going to end up screwing up anyways. We'll open up a material player. By default, it's nothing. The material editor in Unreal Engine is a visual editor, and it allows us to basically create, using nodes, what things are going to look like. I'm going to hold down the 3 key and make a vector 3. Yeah, there we go, vector 3. But basically, it's a color wheel, so it'll give me a color. So I'm going to make our player, red. So let's just go with red, like that. And we'll plug that into our base color, and now we have a red material. If we were to go to our player itself, our blueprint player, and find his material element, material player, and now our player is red. Simple as that. And now we can see a red dot. Now we have a couple issues, mainly due to the fact that we have no light in our scene, and our meshes aren't emitting light. They're not emissive. So due to that, we kind of have this really weird look in here because we have some post-process settings inside of our camera. So like, for example, if we were to go to our auto exposure, and we change this to something like that, now we have no auto exposure. Now you'll see things kind of look blah and plain and simple. Oops, try to save my map. Okay, you know what? As a matter of fact, while we're here, let's do that. Maps. Let's save our map, because by instinct I always save. So we'll save this, and we'll call this our, game level 1. Why not? So we have no red. Why don't we have red? We have no lights. We have no lights, so let's just make everything emissive. We're going to make everything flat and simple and emissive. We don't really have any real lighting. So we'll go back to our player, and oh look, emissive. Bloop. And we'll do that. And now it should emit red. We'll go back to here, and we'll look, and we should have a red item. If it's emitting enough. Let's see what happens if we hit play. There we go. So our camera actor preview isn't really helpful. There we go. Now we have a red emissive. And of course we can't see our other one because it doesn't have a texture on it that emits. So we'll fix that. We'll go back to our platform. We'll do this one really simply. 3, base color, emissive. And let's make our platform green. We'll make it green. There we go, green. There we go. Save and apply. Go to our blueprint for our platform and change it to the material platform. And now we have glowing green. If we were to preview this in camera, we should see, there we go. We have our red and our green. Our platform's really not sized very well. The whole thing's not really sized very well. If we were to do this, and here's our camera in 1920 by 1080, it's, let's see, we're not really, our player's too big. So let's resize everything. So let's find our player, find his mesh. Let's say the scale to something like 0.5 maybe. We're going to change this out with a model later, but for now, this gives us a good point of reference. See, now it's much smaller. And then our platform, let's see, we know X is forward. So if we were to look at our level, we know X is forward, and we're going to have Y on our left to right. So we want to make it short on the Z and the same size on that. So we'll go back to our blueprint platform, and we'll make this, what, 0.5? Nope, that was the, oh, silly me. Z is what we want, 0.5. There we go. Like that. And probably even too tall. There we go. But now we have something that more mimics a platform. If we were to look at it like this, okay, our little guy could start here, on here, and then go to somewhere else. So we're getting somewhere. Let's move our starting platform. Maybe, I think I'm moving too far, right? Yeah, like that. We'll move our little character over to here, like that. And you know what? Where's our blueprint? Here's our platform. We'll drag another platform in. We're going to reset its X to 0, so that way it's at the same depth, and we'll move it here. So now if we were to play the game, oops, let's untag this, and let's see, come on, unpin, thank you. We can see we could start here and move our character to here. Okay, seems pretty simple. We're off to a good start. We need to add some physics and things like that, but for now we're off to a good start. We have some basics, and we can move on. Let's see about recreating this stuff inside of Unity now. So we will go over to Unity, if I can figure out where it's hiding. There we go. And we'll do the basics. So let's see. Let's switch this back to my one column layout. We're going to create a folder. We'll call this one, well, we don't do blueprints in this one, so I guess Prefabs is probably the smart one to call it. And then we'll call another one called, whoops, inside of it, of course. Let's try this again. Create a folder, and we'll call this materials, because we already know we need prefabs and materials. So we're good to go. We have anything inside of our scene? Yep, we have a main camera and a light. We decided we didn't need the light, so let's go ahead and get rid of our light. Our main camera we need to adjust. We're going to get rid of its skybox and turn it to a solid color, and turn solid color black. So now we have, well, a black solid in the back. Projection, we already determined we need that ortho. Size, yeah. I don't remember. Can I do 1920 for the size on this one? I can't remember. Because I think it gets really weird if you do that. You have different size scales between Unity and Unreal, so it gets a little funny. We'll just go with 10 for now. And if we look, you can see our camera right here, and you can see its ortho projection. So we're good there. I don't think we need that much of a depth, so we could probably go something like 100, if that. But we have a good starting point. Let's see, our Z is at -10, so if we put stuff on the 0, it should be fine. That is one thing that is always fun. You have different X, Y, and Z between Unity and Unreal, so trying to remember which one's forward, which one's left, and which one's up is always fun. Prefabs. So we don't create blueprints in Unity. We're going to create game objects. So we are going to, well, we did 3D object. Where's my, there we go, cube, 3D object. So there's our cube. We'll call this one our player. We'll create another one. We'll call this one our platform. So we're off to a good start so far. Here's our player. Here's our movement for our player. And here's our movement there. Can we lock our camera? I can't remember. Well, the nice thing is we don't have to. We have the ability to have multiple views at the same time. So let's go like this. We'll move this one down. We will... Seriously? You're not going to let me get any smaller? How rude. Okay, well, we're going to go like that then. There we go. And then we have that and that. These ones are behind the camera, so that's why we can't see it. So we're going to go and collect them and reset their Z's to 0. Now we can actually see them in our view here. Let's see, we want 16 by 9 for our aspect because we're going to do 1920 by 1080. So there we go. And this is basically what our view is going to look like inside of our game. This is our game level. We don't have to, guess or lock the camera, we get the actual game view inside of Unity, which is nice. You have the ability to see what it's going to look like inside the game. Player. So we need materials. So let's make some materials. So let's see, create material, and we'll call this one material player. And then we'll create another material, and we'll call this one material platform. There we go. We're going to make those really simple, just like before. Now this is the material stuff, and would really call an editor, but this is the default standard shader, and these are the things you get. We have tons of other shaders, but this is the default one. We can adjust things appropriately. You don't really have the material editor like in a real engine. There are add-ons. Add-ons. What the hell are they called? Asset store. I know it's the asset store. What do they call them? Packages. There's packages. Whatever. There's stuff you can buy on the asset store that allow you to mimic the Unreal Engine editor. But for basic stuff, like what we're doing here, we don't really need it. For example, we'll change our albedo to red. That's right. I was like, what color do we make our player? Change it to red. We'll give it some emission. We will tell it to emit red like that. And in theory, we have a red material. We have a color for emission, and we have a red albedo or diffuse. And if we would put that on our player, like that, we now have a red player. If we look in here, yep, there we go, material red. We'll do the same thing for our platform. Change this one to, I think we had green, right? Call it green, and we'll give ourselves a emission. We're going to go with green, and we'll go with that. Oh, why did that? Oh, let's try this again. Actually, need to select green. There we go. So now we have green. We'll drag that onto our platform, and there we go. Our player looks like we're good on the size. Let's adjust the platform itself. Let's reset these to 0 because we're going to make prefabs out of these. So that way it comes out at 0. Our scale, well, we have Y up on the scale. So we're going to make that 0.5. So we have a small platform. And we're going to make it a little bit wider. So that's going to be on our X. So we'll make it, what, 1.5? We'll just go with 2 for now. There we go. There's a platform. And we're going to make prefabs out of these. So we drag them down here, and it creates a prefab. Prefabs are kind of like blueprints in Unreal Engine. It's just something you can create, and it will duplicate. And they're pre-built, contraptions, basically. They're things that contain other things that you can do stuff with. Like, for example, this player prefab consists of the transform, the cube mesh. We have a collider for the box, something that renders the actual mesh itself, and then our material as part of our mesh. So there we go. Let's move some stuff over. So we'll grab our platform. One thing that's nice is we can switch this to easily to 2D view, and bam, we have a nice representation of what everything's going to look like. And we can drag this over in 2D view. We'll do that. We'll grab our player, drag him over to here. Okay, we need another platform. Well, that's not going to be hard. Drag our prefab, boom, right over here. There we go. Now we have what is representative as a starting platform, an ending platform, and a player. That's pretty much it. Let's rename these. We'll call this one goal platform, just to make it a little easier, and start platform. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to try not to keep these videos too long. We've unfortunately already hit the 20-minute mark. We've barely done anything, but that's unfortunately how it is. When you're making games, a lot of the stuff is in the prep work. If we were to hit play right now, we would find, well, here's our game. We can't do anything, but there we go. So we're going to wrap up this video. This is the end of the basics. It's super basic, as you saw, but we did the same thing. Unreal Engine, we'll go back to that if I can figure out where it's hiding at, right here. We created our basic level here. And in Unity, as we just saw, we created our basic level.